The sky above Houston was clear that Tuesday morning. Alan Carter sipped his coffee as he watched the screens at NASA's Mission Control. His job was to track objects in Earth's orbit, mostly satellites and space junk. After 15 years at NASA, Alan thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange," said Melissa Green, a young analyst at the station next to his. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wide. Alan leaned over to look at her screen. A large object had appeared in orbit. It wasn't on any flight plan. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't space debris. "How big is that thing?" Alan asked, setting down his coffee. "About the size of the International Space Station," Melissa replied. "But it's moving in ways our ships can't." Within minutes, every screen in Mission Control showed the object. Within hours, telescopes around the world focused on it. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop, and it moved with impossible grace. The first alien ship had arrived. News spread quickly. People gathered in streets and homes, eyes turned skyward. Some prayed, some panicked. Most just watched and waited. 3 days after it appeared, the ship sent a message. It came through on all frequencies, in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Meridian, a vessel of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and wish to establish contact." The United Nations called an emergency meeting. World leaders argued about how to respond. In the end, they sent a simple message back: "We welcome you." 1 week later, a small shuttle departed from the main ship. It landed on the empty runway at Kennedy Space Center. Alan Carter was among the chosen few to meet the visitors. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. 3 figures stepped out. They were tall and thin, with blue-gray skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Their eyes were large and golden, with no visible pupils. The one in front stepped forward. "I am Captain Zor Thax of the Meridian," it said. Its mouth didn't move when it spoke. The words simply appeared in the minds of the humans present. Zor Thax looked at the humans, studying them. "Your species intrigues us. You have advanced so quickly, yet you remain divided. Most species unite before reaching the stars." Alan stood silent, amazed by the aliens' perfect mental communication. The president's representative stepped forward to welcome the visitors, but Alan noticed how Zor Thax kept looking at the military personnel present. There was something in that golden gaze. Not fear, exactly. Concern, perhaps. Far from Earth, on a rocky planet orbiting Proxima Centauri, news of the contact spread through the regional outpost of the Galactic Confederation. The outpost looked like a city of crystal and light, built into the side of a mountain range. Ships of various designs came and went from landing platforms that jutted out from the mountainside. Inside a high tower, Senior Ambassador Liriana received the reports from the Meridian. She was tall like Zor Thax, but her skin was a deeper blue, almost indigo, with patterns that shifted like clouds. "Fascinating," she said, reading the data on a floating screen made of light. "They've gone from primitive combustion engines to basic space travel in less than 2 centuries. Across from her stood Military Commander Krevnak. His skin was gray with red markings, and metal implants lined his jaw and temples. "That rate of advancement is concerning," he said. His voice was deep and rumbled like distant thunder. "Species that develop so quickly tend to be unstable. Dangerous." Liriana waved her long fingers, and the screen changed to show images of Earth, its cities, oceans, and people. "Look at their diversity, their creativity. Yes, they fight among themselves, but they also create art and music. They seek knowledge. They dream." Krevnak snorted. "They also build weapons with every new technology they discover. Their history is soaked in blood. All young species have violent histories," Liriana countered. "We did too, once." "Not like theirs." Krevnak moved closer to the screen. "I recommend caution. Perhaps more than caution." "What are you suggesting?" Liriana asked, her patterns darkening with concern. The Council must consider all options, Krevnak said, including containment or elimination. Liriana's eyes widened. You can't be serious. I am always serious about the safety of the Confederation, Krevnak replied. These humans could be our greatest allies, or our greatest threat. We must decide which, before they spread beyond their solar system. The debate had begun. And on Earth, unaware of the discussion that would decide their fate, humans prepared to welcome the stars. 3 weeks after first contact, a larger ship from the Galactic Confederation landed in Geneva, Switzerland. Unlike the scout vessel Meridian, this ship was built for diplomacy. It was called the Harmony, and it carried the Confederation's assessment team. Dr. Ilara stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. The gravity felt slightly stronger than she was used to, and the air carried thousands of scents her species had never known. She was the Confederation's leading expert in new civilizations. She had studied 12 other species before, but humans fascinated her the most. "Welcome to Earth," said Dr. Samantha Wells, stepping forward from the greeting party. She was tall for a human, with dark skin and curious eyes. As Earth's top xenolinguist, she had learned the basics of the Confederation's common language in just 2 weeks. Dr. Ilara nodded her head, the gesture she knew humans used as greeting. "Thank you, Dr. Wells. We have much to learn from each other." The temporary embassy was set up in an old palace overlooking Lake Geneva. Humans provided everything the alien diplomats needed, showing great care to make them comfortable. Dr. Ilara noted this in her reports. Humans valued hospitality, even toward completely unknown beings. Dr. Ilara and Samantha spent long hours together. They shared information about their worlds, their histories, their sciences and arts. Samantha taught Ilara about human music and food. Ilara showed Samantha star maps and explained how the Confederation united thousands of worlds. "Your species is remarkably adaptable," Ilara said one evening as they watched the sunset over the lake. "Most species take 5 or 6 centuries to advance from your current level to spacefaring civilization. You might do it in 1. Samantha smiled. "We're impatient. We want to see what's out there." "That curiosity is both your strength and your danger," Ilara replied. Meanwhile, far from the diplomatic meetings, other Confederation members were making their own assessments. Commander Krevnak had sent intelligence operatives to study human military capabilities. One such operative was Traz. Traz wore a human disguise as he walked through the National Military Museum in Paris. His skin suit itched, but it let him move among humans unnoticed. He studied the weapons on display, from ancient swords to modern missiles. No other species in the Confederation had developed so many different ways to fight. "Impressive collection, isn't it?" said an elderly human beside him. "Yes," Traz replied carefully, using the human language he had studied. "Humans seem very good at making weapons." The old man nodded sadly. "Too good, perhaps, but each one tells a story of our progress. We learned from every war. We're still learning." This comment surprised Traz. Most species were ashamed of their violent pasts. This human spoke of it as a journey, with lessons learned. Traz added this to his report, though he wasn't sure if it supported Krevnak's fears or challenged them. On the Confederation capital world of Nexus Prime, the Council gathered to hear preliminary reports. The Council chamber was vast, with seats for representatives of over 3,000 worlds. Today, only the inner council of 12 members met to discuss Earth. "The humans have potential," said Councillor Vrax, a being of living crystal. "Their art shows depth of emotion we rarely see in young species. Their science is crude but creative," added Councillor Jen, who looked like a tall insect with emerald skin. "They solve problems in ways we would never consider." "But they fight constantly," countered Councillor Drav, a reptilian being with scales that changed color with his mood. Currently, they were dark red with concern. "They have thousands of separate groups they call nations. They cannot even unite their own world." The debate continued for hours. Some counselors saw the potential in humanity, their creativity, their resilience, their rapid advancement. Others saw only danger, their aggression, their division, their unpredictability. "We need more information before we decide," said the council leader finally. "We will continue our assessment. Liriana and Krevnak will each present full reports in 30 Earth days. Then we will vote on whether to offer alliance or—" The leader paused, "or take more decisive action." Back on Earth, unaware of the debate that would determine their future, Samantha showed Ilara a simple human custom, skipping stones across the lake. Ilara tried and failed several times before getting a stone to bounce twice across the water surface. "You see," Samantha laughed, "sometimes the most satisfying things take practice." Ilara smiled. She would include this moment in her next report. There was something about humans that numbers and facts couldn't capture, something worth protecting. The Seeker, one of the Confederation's science vessels, drifted helplessly in Earth orbit. Its main power system had failed completely. Emergency systems kept the crew alive, but they could not control the ship or call for help. Their distress signal was simple and primitive by Confederation standards, but it was the only option they had left. NASA caught the signal first. Director Jack Morrison was woken in the middle of the night with the news. "How long do they have?" he asked the nervous technician who had called him. "Their life support systems will fail in about 20 hours, the technician explained. "Their ship is losing orbit. In 30 hours, it will enter the atmosphere. The heat shields are damaged. They won't survive re-entry." Jack nodded. "Call everyone in. Now." 6 hours later, the control room at NASA was filled with Earth's best engineers. Alan Carter was there too, working with teams from 5 countries. They had been given access to some basic information about Confederation ships, but much of the alien technology was still a mystery to them. "Their power system uses something like antimatter," said a scientist from India. "We can't fix that. We don't have the materials or knowledge." "Then we don't fix it," Alan said. "We replace it." The idea was simple but bold. If they couldn't repair the alien ship, they would use human technology instead. It was like putting a gas engine in a car that ran on electricity. Not ideal, but it might work. Over the next 12 hours, they built a makeshift power system using parts from 3 different space agencies. They took a nuclear battery meant for Mars missions and modified it to connect with the alien ship systems. The International Space Agency had a shuttle ready for launch. They loaded the power system and a team of 6 engineers, including Alan. The shuttle launched with just 9 hours left before the alien ship would fall from orbit. Docking with the damaged ship was difficult. The alien captain, a being named Vrel, guided them through the process using simple light signals when radio communication failed. Once inside, the human engineers worked quickly. They had to connect their system to the alien ship without fully understanding how it worked. It was like performing surgery while blindfolded. "This goes here, I think," Alan said, connecting a thick cable to what looked like an input port. "Ready for power test." The first 2 tests failed. The human system was too different from what the alien ship expected. On the 3rd try, they bypassed several safety systems the alien engineers warned against touching. "If we don't try, everyone dies anyway," Alan told Vrel. The alien captain hesitated, then agreed. The lights came on. Not all of them, but enough. The main computer systems started to respond. Within an hour, they had restored 30% of the ship's function, enough to stabilize its orbit and call for help. When the Harmony arrived to rescue the Seeker, they found it safely in orbit with human engineers still on board, making improvements to their makeshift repair job. Back at the Confederation Council, the news of the rescue spread quickly. Dr. Ilara used it in her presentation about humanity. "Look at what they achieved," she said, showing images of the human engineers working alongside the alien crew. "With technology centuries behind ours, they saved our people. They improvised. They took risks. They succeeded where even our own engineers might have failed." Her presentation continued with examples of human art, literature, and scientific breakthroughs. She showed human children learning to walk, falling down, getting back up. She played human music that brought tears to the eyes of counselors whose species could feel emotions. This is what makes humans special, she concluded. They never give up. They always find another way. Later that day, Commander Krevnak presented his own report. He showed footage of human wars, of environmental destruction, of inequality and suffering. They save one ship, and we forget the dangers they pose, he argued. Their creativity works both ways. If they can adapt our technology to save us, they can adapt it to destroy us. The council was divided. Some were moved by Ilara's presentation. Others were convinced by Krevnak's warnings. We need more time, the council leader decided. The assessment continues. As the debate continued on Nexus Prime, Jack Morrison and his team received medals from world leaders for their rescue operation. Unknown to them, that single act of ingenuity had just earned humanity a chance to prove itself worthy of the stars. News of the debate about Earth's future spread across the Galactic Confederation. The question of what to do about humans became the most discussed topic in 100 star systems. The Ursa Alliance, a group of 15 wealthy trading worlds, saw humans as an opportunity. Their leader, a tall four-armed being named Jorah, addressed the Commerce Guild on Nexus Prime. Think of what humans could offer, Jorah said, gesturing with her upper arms while her lower arms remained folded in formal posture. Their world is rich in rare metals and biological compounds. Their art is unique. Their food could become the next luxury trend across the Confederation. Many trading houses agreed. They began to draft plans for future business with Earth, assuming the Council would vote for alliance. The Proshim Pact had a different view. This group of 12 military-focused worlds had long seen themselves as the defenders of the Confederation. Admiral Dex, their highest commander, called an emergency meeting. These humans developed nuclear weapons before they even left their atmosphere, Dex told his officers. His voice was low and steady, making his words even more frightening. Imagine what they will create once they have access to our technology. We must contain this threat while we still can. Back on Earth, people reacted differently to the alien presence. Some nations welcomed the visitors warmly. Schools taught children about the Confederation. Markets sold toys shaped like alien ships. Other nations were more careful. They increased military spending and watched the alien embassy with suspicion. Some religious groups said the aliens were angels. Others said they were demons. Through all this, Samantha Wells continued her work with Dr. Ilara. They had become true friends, learning to see the universe through each other's eyes. One day, Dr. Ilara received a message from Ambassador Liriana. The Council wishes to learn more directly about humans, she told Samantha. Would you be willing to visit Nexus Prime? Samantha could hardly believe what she was hearing. Leave Earth. Go to your capital. Yes, Ilara said. You and one other human representative. You would be the first humans to travel beyond your solar system. After much discussion, Alan Carter was chosen to go with Samantha. His work saving the Seeker had made him famous both on Earth and in the Confederation. 2 weeks later, they boarded a diplomatic vessel bound for Nexus Prime. The journey took only 3 days using the Confederation's faster-than-light travel. Samantha spent most of the trip looking out viewing ports at the stars rushing by. Ellen studied everything about the ship, asking questions that sometimes made the alien crew uncomfortable. How does your gravity system work? He would ask. What happens if the faster-than-light drive fails mid-jump? How do you protect against radiation? When they arrived at Nexus Prime, both humans fell silent in awe. The planet was twice the size of Earth, with 3 small moons. Great cities covered much of its surface, their lights visible even from space. Thousands of ships moved in careful patterns around the planet. Welcome to the heart of the Confederation, said Ambassador Liriana, who had come to greet them personally. During their first week on Nexus Prime, Samantha and Alan were shown the wonders of the capital. They saw buildings that floated above the ground, They visited gardens where plants responded to music by changing colors. They met beings of every shape, size, and type, some made of crystal, some like insects, some that looked almost human. They were given special translator devices to help them understand the many languages spoken in the Confederation. With these, they could talk directly to other species without Dr. Ilara's help. At a formal dinner hosted by the Commerce Guild, Samantha overheard two delegates talking in low voices. "The vote is coming soon," one said. "The council is still divided." "Which way will it go?" asked the other. "No one knows, but either way, the humans' fate will be decided within a month." Samantha nearly dropped her drink. For the first time, she realized that these wonderful, advanced beings were seriously debating whether her entire species deserved to live or die. She found Alan's eyes across the room and knew he had heard something similar. Their visit to the stars suddenly felt much more important than either of them had imagined. The attack came without warning. 3 ships with no markings appeared near the Mars Research Station. They fired energy weapons that cut through the station's thin walls like they were made of paper. Of the 52 scientists and engineers at the station, 37 died within minutes. The rest managed to reach emergency shelters. NASA's director, Patricia Owens, watched the attack happen on live feed from Earth. Her husband, Eric, had been the station's chief engineer. She saw his section of the station explode. She did not cry. Not yet. There would be time for that later. "Get me the president," she said to her assistant, her voice flat and cold. The attackers vanished as quickly as they had come. They left behind only destruction and a short message broadcast on all frequencies. "This is how we deal with dangerous species." On Earth, military bases around the world went to their highest alert level. Fighter jets took to the skies. Missile systems were prepared. People in cities looked up at the sky with fear. United Nations Secretary-General Richard Blake called an emergency meeting. Representatives from all nations gathered, their faces grim. "We must respond with unity," Blake told them. This attack was against all of humanity, not just one nation. Some countries wanted to attack the Confederation Embassy in Geneva. Others wanted to hide and prepare for more attacks. After hours of debate, they decided to increase Earth's defenses while asking the Confederation for an explanation. At the embassy, Dr. Ilara was horrified by the news. "This was not authorized by the Council," she told Earth's leaders. "I swear to you by all I hold sacred." She sent urgent messages to Nexus Prime. The response came from Ambassador Liriana herself. The attackers were rogue elements of the Procyon Pact. The Confederation Council condemned the attack and promised to find those responsible. But the damage was done. On Nexus Prime, Commander Krevnak used the human military response to support his arguments. "See how quickly they arm themselves," he told the Council. "They prepare for war before even asking for explanations. This proves my point about their aggressive nature." Samantha Wells and Alan Carter were kept isolated after the attack. They were not prisoners, but they were watched closely. They could not contact Earth directly. "We have to do something," Samantha told Alan as they sat in their guest quarters. "They're using this attack to turn the Council against us." Alan nodded. "But what can we do from here? We're just 2 humans on an alien world." They found an unexpected ally in Traz, the intelligence operative who had been studying human history. He came to them in secret. "Not all of us agree with Krevnak," Traz said. "I believe this attack was planned to provoke humans, to make you look dangerous. Why are you helping us?" Alan asked. Traz's eyes shifted color, showing emotion in the way of his species. "Because in studying your history, I found something my people have lost. You fight, yes, but you also hope. You dream of better futures even in your darkest times." With Traz's help, Samantha and Alan began to gather information about who might have been behind the attack. Meanwhile, on Earth, Patricia Owens channeled her grief into action. She called together the best minds from around the world, scientists, engineers, and military experts. They gathered in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. "We've been studying Confederation technology since first contact," she told them. "Now we need to use what we've learned." One of the scientists raised a hand. "Director Owens, we've barely scratched the surface of their tech. We can't hope to match it." Patricia's eyes were hard as steel. "We don't need to match it. We just need to survive it. And we will do it the human way, by thinking differently." She showed them plans based on Alan Carter's work on the Seeker. "They expect us to try to copy their weapons. We won't. We'll adapt our own technology in ways they won't expect." As Earth prepared, the debate on Nexus Prime grew more heated. The Council set a date for the final vote, 3 weeks from the day of the attack. Dr. Ilara and Samantha worked desperately to prevent full-scale war. They knew that if either side struck again, there would be no turning back, and Krevnak's supporters were counting on exactly that. The news from Nexus Prime was bad. Traz smuggled information to Samantha and Alan. The Protean Pact was preparing for a larger attack. They planned to send a fleet to Earth, claiming it was to protect the Confederation from human aggression. "How much time do we have?" Alan asked. 10 days at most," Traz replied. "They move quickly now that they have support from several council members." Samantha sent an urgent message to Earth using a private channel Traz provided. The message reached Patricia Owens in her underground lab. She read it twice, then called Secretary General Blake. "We have less than 2 weeks," she told him. "We need to be ready." All across Earth, preparations accelerated. Nations that had fought each other for centuries now worked together against a common threat. They shared technologies and resources. They turned sports stadiums into emergency shelters. They moved food and supplies to secure locations. In Patricia's lab, scientists worked around the clock. They studied the pieces of Confederation technology they had collected from the embassy and the damaged Seeker. They tested new ideas, failed, tried again, failed again, but never gave up. 5 days before the Protean fleet was due to arrive, Patricia called her team together. "Show me what we have," she said. The chief scientist stepped forward. "We can't match their weapons," he said, "but we might be able to defend against them." He showed her a device that looked simple, just a metal box with wires and crystals inside. "We reverse-engineered this from their communication system. It creates a field that disrupts their targeting sensors." Another scientist showed her a modified satellite. "This can detect their ships before they exit faster than light travel. It gives us maybe 10 minutes warning." A military officer presented plans for ground defenses. "If they land troops, we have some surprises for them." Patricia nodded. It wasn't much, but it was something. Deploy everything. Now. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Liriana confronted Commander Krevnak in the council chamber. "You overstep your authority," she said, her voice ringing through the hall. "The council has not voted for war." Krevnak smiled. "It is not war. It is security. The Protean Pact has a duty to protect the Confederation. The humans have clearly shown hostile intent by arming themselves. They armed themselves because they were attacked," Liriana argued. But many council members now supported Krevnak. The attack on Mars had frightened them. Fear was spreading faster than reason. 8 days after the Mars attack, the Protean fleet arrived at Earth. It appeared suddenly just beyond the moon. 20 warships, each larger than anything humans had built. They moved toward Earth in perfect formation. Earth's new detection system gave a 9-minute warning. It was enough time to activate defenses. As the alien fleet approached, they found not a helpless planet, but one prepared to fight. The fleet commander, General Vex, was surprised to find his targeting systems failing. Human satellites had been modified to create interference that confounded the alien weapons. His ships could still fire, but with much less accuracy. When the fleet launched smaller attack craft, they met Earth's fighters. The human planes were much less advanced, but their pilots flew with skill and courage. They used the atmosphere and the planet's gravity in ways the alien pilots had never seen. On the ground, missile launchers that had been hidden in mountains and under oceans fired upward. Most missiles were easily destroyed by the alien ships, but some, modified with Confederation technology, got through shields and damaged 3 enemy vessels. "Impossible," General Vex said as he watched a damaged ship retreat. "Their weapons should be useless against our shields." From his command center, Secretary General Blake watched the battle unfold. Earth was outmatched in every way, but they were not giving up. "Send in the second wave," he ordered. More fighters took to the air. More defenses activated. Across the planet, humans stood together against an enemy from the stars. They knew they might lose, but they would show the galaxy what humans were made of. In orbit, General Vex received new data from his sensors. His eyes widened in surprise. The humans had done something no one expected. Something that would change everything. On Nexus Prime, Traz moved quickly through the shadows of the Great Council building. He carried a small data crystal that contained information Dr. Ilara had helped him gather. The evidence was clear. Commander Krevnak had been working with the Proteum Pact leaders in secret. He had planned the attack on Mars. He had pushed for war when the Council wanted peace. Traz had to reach Ambassador Liriana before the final vote. If the Council saw this evidence, they might stop the attack on Earth. But security was tight. Guards loyal to Krevnak watched every entrance to the Council chambers. Samantha and Alan waited in a small room nearby. They couldn't move freely on Nexus Prime anymore. Too many people now saw humans as enemies. "If Traz doesn't make it, Earth is on its own," Samantha said, pacing the room. Alan was working on something else. He had been studying the Confederation's faster-than-light drive system. As an engineer, he had noticed something no one else had. "There's a flaw in their FTL system," he told Samantha. "A basic problem with the way they understand physics." Samantha looked confused. How could they have this technology for centuries and not notice a flaw? "Because they all think the same way," Alan explained. "They built on each other's work without questioning the foundation. But human physics took a different path. We see things they don't." This discovery could be just as important as Traz evidence. It showed that humans had something valuable to offer the Confederation, new ways of thinking. Back on Earth, the battle continued. General Vex had discovered what surprised him so much. Humans had found a way to hide an entire fleet of ships. Using the same technology that disrupted targeting systems, Earth had made dozens of ships nearly invisible to Confederation sensors. These ships now attacked from behind, catching the Protean fleet off guard. They weren't powerful by Confederation standards, but they didn't need to be. They targeted specific weak points that Patricia Owen's team had identified. General Vex was forced to retreat to a higher orbit. He called for reinforcements, but they would take days to arrive. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, he faced a determined enemy that refused to follow the rules of space combat as he understood them. On Nexus Prime, Traz finally reached Ambassador Liriana. He handed her the data crystal. "This proves everything," he said, breathing hard from his escape. "Krevnak orchestrated the Mars attack. He's been pushing for war from the beginning." Liriana's skin patterns darkened with anger as she reviewed the evidence. "We must take this to the Council immediately." But getting into the Council chamber wasn't easy. Krevnak's supporters blocked their way. They had to find another path. Meanwhile, Alan asked to speak to the science advisors of the Council. Most refused to meet with a human, but one, a crystal being named Zeth, was curious enough to come. "Your FTL drives create instability in spacetime," Alan explained, showing calculations on a datapad. "It's small now, but over centuries it will grow. Eventually, it could tear holes in the fabric of space." Zeth studied the calculations. "This cannot be right. Our greatest minds developed this technology." "But they all made the same assumption about how space-time works," Alan said. "Humans approached it differently. We can help you fix this." Zeth's crystalline form glowed brighter as understanding dawned. If you are right, this changes everything. In the council chamber, a vote was about to be called. Commander Krevnak stood confidently before the assembled representatives of thousands of worlds. The time for debate is over, he declared. The humans have proven themselves too dangerous. They attack our fleet that came in peace. The doors burst open. Ambassador Liriana entered, followed by Traz, Samantha, and Alan. With them came Zeth and several other scientific advisors. This council has been deceived, Liriana announced. Her voice carried through the vast chamber. I have evidence that Commander Krevnak secretly planned the attack on Mars to provoke humans into war. As shocked murmurs spread through the council, Alan stepped forward with Zeth. And I have discovered a critical flaw in our FTL drive system, Zeth said. A flaw that human science can help us correct. Krevnak's face darkened with rage. Lies. All lies to protect a dangerous species. The council leader raised a hand for silence. These are serious claims. We will examine all evidence before voting. For the first time since the crisis began, there was hope. But on Earth, the battle continued, and the fate of humanity still hung in the balance. For 3 days, the council reviewed the evidence. They examined the data Crystal Traz had provided. They studied Alan's calculations about the FTL drive flaw. They watched footage from Earth showing how humans defended their planet against overwhelming odds. On the 4th day, they reconvened for the final vote. The council chamber was silent as the leader rose to speak. Representatives from 3,000 worlds waited for the decision that would change the course of galactic history. After careful consideration, the leader announced, "This council has reached a decision regarding humanity." All across Earth, people gathered around screens to watch the broadcast from Nexus Prime. The Protean fleet still orbited the planet, but no more shots had been fired. Everyone waited for the council's verdict. Commander Krevnak and his conspirators will face justice for their actions, the leader continued. The attack on Mars was not authorized by this council, and we deeply regret the loss of life. In the chamber, Krevnak stood under guard, his eyes burning with anger and defiance. Furthermore, said the leader, we have verified the scientific concerns raised by the human Alan Carter. The flaw in our FTL system is real and potentially dangerous. Human insight has identified a problem our own scientists missed for centuries. The leader paused, looking around the chamber. The vote on whether to offer humanity alliance status was close. Many still have concerns about human unpredictability and aggression. But today, by a margin of 7 votes, the Council has decided to offer humanity provisional alliance status within the Galactic Confederation. On Earth, cheers erupted from crowds gathered in cities around the world. The threat of extinction had passed. Humanity would join the stars. Secretary General Blake addressed the United Nations the next day. We have been offered a chance to join a community of worlds beyond our imagination, he said. This offer comes with great opportunity, but also great responsibility. We must prove worthy of the trust placed in us. After much discussion, Earth's nations accepted the Confederation's offer. There were conditions on both sides. Humans would gain access to some Confederation technology, but not weapons. Earth would maintain its independence while following Confederation laws in space. It would be a careful, gradual integration. As a first step, a joint research center was established in Geneva. Dr. Ilara and Samantha Wells were named co-directors. Their first project, working on Alan's solution to the FTL drive problem. We're making history, Samantha told Dr. Ilara as they toured the new facility. The first true collaboration between humans and the Confederation. Ilara's skin patterns glowed with pleasure. This is what I hoped for from the beginning. Not just peace, but partnership. Patricia Owens joined their team, bringing the engineering skills that had helped defend Earth. Her grief for her husband was still fresh, but she found purpose in continuing his work. Eric believed in building bridges, not walls, she told her new colleagues. He would have loved this. 1 year later, the first human-designed starship prepared for its maiden voyage. It was called the UES Horizon, and it contained innovations from both human and Confederation science. Its FTL drive was the first to incorporate Alan's improvements, making it safer and more efficient than any that had come before. The ship's crew included both humans and members of various Confederation species. Captain Diana Fisher stood on the bridge, looking at her diverse crew with pride. "Prepare for departure," she ordered. As the horizon lifted smoothly from Earth, observers from across the Confederation watched. Even the most skeptical had to admit that humanity had already begun to make positive contributions to galactic civilization. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Liriana and the Council leader observed the launch via live transmission. "They move so quickly," the leader noted. "It would have taken another species decades to reach this point." "That is their gift," Liriana replied. "They never stop pushing forward." "And their curse," the leader added. "Let us hope they learn wisdom to match their speed." Far from both Earth and Nexus Prime, in the shadows between stars, remnants of the Protean Pact gathered in secret. They had not forgiven humanity for Krevnak's downfall. They watched, they waited, and they planned. The story of humanity among the stars was just beginning. And like all human stories, it would be filled with both triumph and challenge.